Hey folks, how you doing today? Homestead Ed here. Well, today I'm going to make up some absolutely delicious homemade blueberry jam. My camera lady's out floating around in the pool, so I'm going to have to do this all by myself, do it a little one-handed. But this is so easy I could do it with one hand and tape. So if you see here, I just want to go over some of the ingredients. I got 4 cups of blueberries I picked off the bushes this morning, sitting there in that saucepan. Behind it I've got pectin. It's about 4 tablespoons or so, maybe 4.5 tablespoons of pectin. Some lemon juice, about 2.5 tablespoons of that. 3.5 cups of sugar. And back there I got my jars getting ready, and my little funnel in there. I'm just gonna heat them up, boil them. I wash them nice and good, but I like sterilizing them, so I'll boil them a bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start out by turning on the heat here, just on like a little less than medium. That's for my blueberries. I'm going to mix in my lemon juice, and I'm going to start crushing them down with this potato crusher. Now I should have put the camera in my left hand and done this with my right. So I'm probably gonna have to shut off the camera and switch around a bit. But what I'm gonna do is smush these down a bit and get them just a little bit like a mush, and then I'll add the pectin. Let me shut this off for 1 second, switch hands, and I'll be right back on. Okay, so I'm back. I figured while I had the camera off, I do a good portion of the squishing. But you get the point. I just take this potato masher and squish up those berries good. And once I get them reduced to about here, what I'm going to do is add my pectin to it, and then I'm going to bring up the heat and bring this to a boil. Okay, so we're going to take the pectin and we're going to put it in a little at a time and stir it around. I just really don't want this pectin to clump up. I want to get it incorporated good into there. And I guess at this point I could raise my heat just a little too. So a little bit of pectin at a time. Let me get rid of this. And give it a nice stir. And I'm going to keep that going until I have all my pectin incorporated. I'm going to get this up to a boil, let it boil for about 60 seconds, and then I'll add my sugar. So I'm going to shut this off again, we'll get it up to a boil, we'll get the sugar in there. Well, the pectin's all stirred in there and you can see it's starting to boil. So I'm just about ready to add the sugar. Got my jars boiling away. Once we get the sugar in here, I'm going to bring it back up to a boil and let it go for a few more minutes. While I get the jars out of there, they're just getting sterilized. Get them out of there and get them ready to start filling, and then we'll can them up, and we're going to have some delicious blueberry jam. Here we go, adding the sugar. You put it all in at one time, about 3.5 cups full. And then we're going to stir that in nice. And bring that back up to a boil, let it go for a few minutes. All the sugar's in there, and you can see it's starting to boil. I want to get this to a nice rolling boil. It's been on there a couple minutes. I got my jars out, they're all sterilized and ready to go. So we'll let this go another minute or two. Once I get a nice rolling boil, I'm going to be ready to put it in my jars. And what you want to do is you want to leave a little bit of headspace here on your jars. Fill it to like that bottom ring there on the jar. Give it a little bit of space. Then we're going to cap them. Put a cap on there in a ring. And we're going to process them in just a water bath. Yeah, you can see that starting to boil good there. So we're just about done with that. In fact, I think let me fill one jar, and then I'll shut off the camera and we'll fill the rest and we'll get them into the water bath. But what do you think? I think that's looking good. That's a nice rolling boil starting to come up there. We got some color. You'll notice there's some chunks in mine. I like it that way. I don't like putting it through a food processor or anything like that. Just a potato masher, mash it up a bit, and you're good to go. I'm going to shut this off because I might have a fire. Okay. So let's see here. It's smelling like cotton candy. It's absolutely delicious. Let's just see if I can do this left-handed. You know what? I'm going to put the camera down for a second and I'll be right back. I'm glad I decided to put the camera down because even with two hands I wound up making a big mess. But anyhow, I have my jam in my jars now, and since I made a mess, it made me think about telling you, when you do this, you want to make sure you always wipe your lids clean after you pour it in there, even with the funnel. I overflowed these little jars a bit, so I needed to wipe them good and clean. But what can happen is when you put your lid on, if you have a little bit of, you know, food up there, a little jam or whatever, it's not going to seal good when you put it in your boiling bath. So it's really important, before you put it in there, a couple things that are important with this. If you want to preserve it, you can make this and just stick it in the fridge and eat it within a week or so and it'd be fine. But if you want to take it and jar it, can it, and keep it for a while, you want to make sure your jars and your lids are nice and clean and sterilized. You know, there's no bacteria or anything in there. And then you want to make sure the tops of your jars are clean before you put your lids on. Then you put on your lid and your ring, and we're going to process it in the bath. About 15 minutes I'll let it go in there, and that's it. So I cleaned up a bit, and I'm just about ready to get this stuff into my boiling bath. Now all this really is a pot of water that we're going to bring up to a boil. I still got a little bit to go on that, but that's okay. I can start putting my cans in now, because once I get all my jars in there, I want to bring it back up to a boil. And I'm going to let that go for about 15 minutes. If you look, Ball is the company that makes these jars, and if you look on their website, or even when you buy the jars, it comes, sometimes you can get they call it the Ball Blue Book or whatnot, and it'll tell you how long you should can different items in a boiling bath. But I think about 15 minutes, a good 15 minutes will be fine for this. So let me get all my jars in there. What you want to make sure is when you take them out, and like that jar there has got to be covered with water, but it will when I put the rest of these in. When you take them out and you let them sit, you're going to hear a little pop, and that's going to be it making a nice seal. And then you know you're good to go. If you don't hear that pop, or if when you push on the can, it still feels you know, like spongy, popping back and forth, then you don't have a good seal. Those you're going to want to take and use and not store. The jam is done. So now I just got to let it just came out of the water bath. I'm going to let it sit for a while. Soon what I'm going to hear is these lids popping down. It hasn't started to happen yet, but you'll hear like a little click as they pop down. I normally just let it sit like overnight before I even move it. Let it, you know, solid up a little bit. Well, I hope you try this. I just want to go over the recipe again real quick. You got 4 cups of blueberries, 3.5 cups of sugar, 2 or 2.5 tablespoons of lemon juice, and about 4.5 tablespoons of pectin. If you buy like a package of pectin in the store, it's just about 4.5 tablespoons. You could just throw it all in there. I try to keep it a little light on the pectin. I want it to solid up good, but sometimes people complain about the pectin taste. So I like to try to keep it as light as I can on that. Figure around 4 tablespoons. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.